All right, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. We are so thrilled to have you all here. My name is Christiana Russell, and I will be one of your hostess for the morning. We are again here to celebrate the amazing work that you all do and provide you with information about what happens here in UCSD in the startup and innovation space. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because we want to make sure that you all are tapped into resources that are available to help you start your company, build out your idea, or maybe even collaborate with an existing startup so that you all may be a co-founder or an expert industry contributor to that startup. So there's so many different ways you all could be a part of this. Today, we're going to go through a few slides together. We have some amazing folks that are going to be here doing a panel with us today. You all will be able to ask questions. Again, we want you to feel comfortable just raising your hand, chiming in there. We're a nice, intimate group today. So again, we want to leverage that. This event is being live streamed, and so we are recording it. You all will have access to it, as I understand, right after the event. So feel free to share it with other colleagues that may not have been able to attend today or anyone else in your ecosystem. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping rules. The room that we are in is directly connected to the makerspace, so you all will have an opportunity to tour that. The third floor is the design lab space. We will have an opportunity to explore there. And of course, on the fourth floor, the Entrepreneur Center, where you all entered in when you first came here. The basement is geared towards helping students develop their ideas. So they will be trickling in at some point, and again, we'll stop in there. There's also an opportunity to explore a space on the fourth floor called Maverick Studios. We'll talk about all they do. They're actually going to come in here and share a little bit about the work they're doing with one of the startups here on campus, who happens to be an alumni as well. And we are excited also to share the opportunity to tour one of our partners' buildings, the IGE. You'll hear more about that space coming up during our panel from the director of that program as well. Before I forget, restrooms. The restrooms are right down the hallway here to your right, and there's a sign that says exit. It's green. That's where the restrooms are going to be. And the other thing I want to mention is we have our amazing student employee, Eden. You'll see her taking pictures or recording. If you have time, please do connect with her and give her a sound bite. We want to make sure, again, that we're supporting the work that you all are doing, because we know right now everyone is dealing with challenges with funding, and we're all doing good work. So we just want to make sure that we're highlighting that. Before I go on with our show for today, are there any questions, concerns from anyone? No? Fantastic. All right, so the next order of business is to go over the highlights. And I did a little bit of that, the housekeeping, welcoming you to the Office of Innovation and Commercialization. This building was launched in 2021, fully built up to be the hub for exploring your idea and scaling it to, to raising capital or exiting. We partner with other business accelerators on campus, and a few of them will be here today to talk more about that. Excuse me, I was going to ask that we turn off our phones, and I'm the corporate right here that did not do that myself, so apologies. Let me do that. All right, good to go. Want to do a couple of honorable mentions. Like I said before, we have panelists that are going to be talking about their program. So we're excited to have them speak about it. So I won't go into their groups, but I will share that the Design Lab School of Medicine, Department of Psychiatry. Her research focuses on workplace wellness, mental health of healthcare professionals, suicide.
Hi, guys. I know many of you in the room today, and I'm so happy to be here and so happy that Christiana and all of her amazing colleagues are going to introduce to us concepts that are usually not talked about in nursing circles. You know, today's a little different because nurses, when they come to a program, they start on the top of the hour, the minute that, right? And we're minute to minute to minute. And here we were lounging around, drinking our coffee. So, you know, having our pastries, and we know it's a different start to the day, right? And you're going to feel a different vibe here today because we're opening new doors. This is a new beginning for us as nurses. I work very closely with our medical colleagues, and they constantly are involved in this space that we're entering into today. And we've always been on the edges looking in. And I'm here to tell you, today needs to be the start of a change. We need to be at the center of this, not at the edge looking in, right? So, right? Let's hear it. Yes, okay. All right. So next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of missed opportunities. I've always had in my head ideas that I wanted to create or invent, and I just let them slide by because I didn't have an engineer at my fingertips, or I didn't know how to contact one. I didn't know how to take the idea to the next step, right? So when my daughter was born, it was such a struggle getting the car seat in the car and the stroller in the car and the play seat in the car. And I said, if only we had a stroller that could go boom and be a transformer like the kids' Transformer video and transform into a car seat, and you could pluck it in easily, right, into the car and then pluck it out easily and then just hit a button and the legs would come out and you could stroll away, right? Wouldn't that be lovely? I mean, how many of you have struggled with the whole car seat stroller thing? You know, so I was thinking, did anybody create this yet? You know, because I never did. And I'm thinking, with all of the changes at the national level and the problem with car seats coming into America, this idea may not be too late, okay? So the car seats of today are over-engineered. You must have a degree in engineering to get one in and out of a car. Somebody needs to recreate this in a way that works for parents. And it may not be too late. This idea may be an idea still yet to come, but it was a missed opportunity for me as I was raising children. Now, the other idea I had was spicy ketchup. I'm constantly putting salsa in my ketchup, right? So, and I thought to myself, why don't they sell spicy ketchup? If you look up spicy ketchup now, there's 10 brands out there on the market. They sell it. You could buy it from all different kinds with Tabasco or this or that or the other thing, you know, but still an idea that I had 30 years ago, never capitalized on, never took the next step, and somebody's making a fortune on it, right? So how many of you in the audience have ideas? Raise your hand if you have an idea. Raise them proud, not this little thing, you know? Raise them proud. Okay. All right. So you've all got ideas in your head that have been floating around that you need to figure out, how do I bring this idea to reality? Let me tell you about another missed opportunity of my own. Okay. I know there's a lot of ICU nurses in the audience. Next slide. So years ago, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was getting my master's degree at San Diego State. And back then, you had to get, for your master's in nursing as a critical care CNS, you had to conduct a study. So you had to do a thesis, a real one with the 5 chapters, and conduct a study and get it published in the library. None of these comps, right, or think up an idea, but you don't really have to execute it. You had to actually do a research project to get out of school. So I was working in cardiac ICU at the time, and we had the angioplasty patients way back then used to have an arterial and a venous sheath in their groin after the catheterization. And the venous sheath had heparin running through it, the heparin drip. And the arterial line had just the, to keep the line open, heparin, that they don't even use anymore, right? So these 2 lines are in the groin, and you could have drawn blood out of them, but you needed to run serial PTTs to monitor the heparin, right? The anticoagulation. And they wouldn't let us draw off the lines because the lines were infusing heparin, right? So I did a study for my thesis. Could you get a clean sample from the lines if you pulled off the right displacement volume? So I measured the displacement volume from the catheter tip to the sampling port, and I said, what if we multiply that volume 1.2 cc's times 6? And we pulled back that amount of blood and then sampled. Could we get a clean sample off of these? And I jerry-rigged this whole setup with stopcocks so that you could pull back the sample but not disconnect the syringe, right? And then have another stopcock where you pulled the blood. Then you could push back the displacement volume, right, without, so the patient didn't end up with iatrogenic, anemia, right? So all of you ICU nurses in the room, what does this sound like to you? Yeah, click. Guess what happened a few years later? Yeah, click, 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 click. There you go, the vamp. Okay, so yeah, this was marketed by Edwards. It's still in use today, right, Chris? Okay, so this device was marketed by somebody years after. I jerry-rigged this device up for my thesis, and if I had thought enough or had an engineer at my fingertips, the vamp could have been mine. It could have been called the Davidson, right? Or it could have been called Nurse Judy or something, I don't know. But it could have been something, not the vamp. It could have been me, all right? And it wasn't. It was Edwards and whoever designed that. But it was definitely a need at the time, and obviously still a need, and filling a need, filling a gap. But hopefully someone in this audience, even if one person takes their idea to creation after this morning, it's going to be worth getting us all together, don't you think? If one person gets it all the way. So we need to realize our power. We need to realize our potential. We are 5 million strong in the United States, nurses, right? 5 million. Wow. Yeah. At UCSD, we're a great force to be reckoned with. UCSD alone, we have over 5,000 and growing every day. Patty's hell-bent on buying every building in town, right? So we are growing and expanding in numbers. And we're 5,000 alone here, and how many great ideas does every nurse have? And we serve and lead at the point of care. We're right up front and center with what happens in healthcare. We know what works and what doesn't work. We know what we have and what we don't have. We know where the gaps are. How many of you have ever had to jerry-rig anything? How many jerry-riggers out there? Okay, every jerry-rigging is an opportunity for invention, right? Like every time you've had to make a workaround on a product or an idea or a process, that means you're an inventor. You are a creative. So everybody in this room raised their hands, said, I've had to jerry-rig. That means you are the future inventor amongst us, right? We can do it, and the ideas are just endless of what does not work in our healthcare environment. Okay, so about inventors and creatives, I'm going to put this in numerical context. Gerard Phillips, one of the senior directors at UCSD, challenged me this year with trying to figure out how many nurses have led projects to improve a practice over time, right, in this 1 year's period of time. And I was able to cobble together the CN3 advancement projects, the green and black belt projects out of transformational health, the EBBI projects, right? Everything that went through Acquire for approval, that committee that approves projects that are not research. So I found in 1 year, 76 nurse-led projects to improve care where the nurse led the project, and then an additional 58 projects where a nurse joined a doctor in fixing something at work that did not work, right? That needed to be more efficient and better. So we know there's creatives out there, and this is just 1 year, right? Next slide. So then I've been in my job is, my real job is not to do the research that I do myself, but my real job is to provide opportunities for nurses to advance through scholarly activities by conducting projects, doing their first research project, and presenting and publishing. So I keep track over time of everybody I know that's doing this work. These numbers are underreported, right? Because I only hear about this by snowball. We don't have, which is a research term meaning just by word of mouth, by whispers in the wind, we don't have a structured approach to send me data every time a nurse does a project or presents or publishes. I just hear about it in the wind, write it down, and then I tally them up at the end of the year. So we know there's probably at least a third greater than this. But look at the hundreds of projects over the last 10 years, the last decade, that have come out of UCSD nursing that we've got cataloged, right? This is just the number that we've got cataloged. Hundreds. And every one of these reflects a team of nurses that did a project together. So these are the number of posters and podium presentations done at the outside of the organization, and art pieces of art, creative again, and then publications, over 400 publications from our Division of Nursing, that over 10 years, that's huge. Most schools of nursing can't even boast this, right? So we are chock full of creatives, and people are driven to work at UCSD because it is an academic medical center, right? Because we're surrounded by innovation, and we thrive in that environment. But where's the innovation for us, right? That's why we're here today. Next slide. So what has stopped us? We've had obstacles in getting really to create an event. There's been barriers for us, big barriers. And here you see a little graphic image drawn by my dear buddy Chat, who who shows that here at UCSD we have a school of medicine, we have a school of pharmacy, we've got a school of public health, right? But what do we not have? The School of Nursing. If you want to get federal funds to start a project, you have to have a faculty appointment. And if you have faculty appointment, if you don't have a School of Nursing, it's a little tough, right? So what's happened is that over time, one of our biggest obstacles to invention and creation has been that to join in on the sandbox the way our docs do is that we don't have a way to funnel money from federal grants through a School of Nursing. We don't have a way to do it. And our finance department on the health side of the business does not consider themselves like the Office of Contracts and Grants. They will not process funds through their office. So we've been blocked from bringing in grant funding, right? Today we're going to explore the concept of, can we skirt around this somehow? I've been trying to fix it for 13 years. My predecessor's been trying to fix this little problem for 8 years before me. It's been well over 25 years that nurses in power with authority have tried to change the system here to be able to bring in grant funding to allow for serious innovation to happen, and we haven't been able to do it. We've got a flawed financial structure in the organization. It's a square peg into a round hole. So how can we work around that? Well, these chairs are going to be filled with people that might have possible answers for us, okay, for the future. Ideas we've never thought of because we were thinking inside our own box. Now we've got to get out of our normal structure and hear from the experts today on how we might be able to wiggle around this, okay, and get to the other side and make it successful. So we've been doing all this innovative work on a shoestring. And this is my favorite slide. We've been doing it with no money. Can you imagine our power and influence if we actually had funding to start small businesses and projects and innovation and just, if we had actual money to support the work around it, all those numbers I just showed you were done with $0 down. Everybody was doing it for the sport of it. Every nurse did it for the sport of it with zero funding, okay? Hundreds of projects over time. The sky would be the limit if we could actually fund some of these things and move them forward. So I know innovation is out there. I know our spirit of inquiry is strong. I know that nurses have the scientific minds, right? The scientific minds to pull these things forward in new directions that nobody had ever dreamed of. And today's the beginning of those possibilities. Today we're going to learn how to leverage opportunity into success. And I'm hoping at least one of you in the next year finds me after my retirement next month, finds me and says, I did it. I brought that idea to success, and I'm on the road. So with that, I'll pass the mic back to Christiana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judy. That was just so powerful. I was standing there as I'm clicking through the slides, and I'm getting chills because I feel like that was a call to action, not just for you all, but for myself as well. What more can I do in this space? And so I'm pondering that. Well, we have a bit of time before our panel comes up at 10, so you all are going to have a break now. And please feel free to, even though we'll take you on a tour. Oh, actually, someone's in the room that I just spotted, that if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, bringing you up. This is Liesel. She is director of the programs and so many other things on the fourth floor. And so if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what we do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Christiana. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Well, thank you for responding. I wasn't expecting anyone to actually, let me do that again. Hi, every morning. Good morning. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Liesel, and I'm the Director of Program Development for the Office of Innovation and Commercialization, which is housed partly in this building, which you're in, maybe for the first time. And then we also have a team of people who work at Torrey Pines Center North doing commercialization and all of the licensing disclosures, and they also do. We have some remote workers as well, but the folks who are in this building, we run the first floor, which is the basement, and we run the fourth floor, which is the Entrepreneurship Center. And the basement, if you're not familiar with it, is our student-focused entrepreneurial center, and there are cohort-based learning experiences, incubators for students interested in learning about how to become an innovator and entrepreneur. So that's students and grad students. Check out the basement, you'll see it in the tour. Then on the fourth floor, Shane, who is outside checking folks in, he runs the Entrepreneurship Center, and that's where we have startups in residence. We try and connect startups and innovators and entrepreneurs with industry partners and with real-world applications and hopefully funding. So we try and run the gamut, our programs, from the innovator's journey idea all the way to launch. And so when you take the building tour later, you're going to hear all about that. But that's a little bit about what we do. We're really excited to have you here. I echo what Christiana said, which is the sort of call to action. This is really a ripe moment for us to learn from you about what is needed for the nursing community, because you're the experts and you have the ideas of what the solutions are. So we're really excited to help support you in whatever your idea brings you to. Anything else you want me to say? Okay. Oh, and we'll have, we're paused on that for the moment, so we'll be having, but we do on the fourth floor, as we connect folks with industry, we have industry office hours where we bring partners, legal folks, VCs, folks who are working in the industry. They come and they offer free office hours to our folks in this community. So if you haven't yet, follow the Office of Innovation and Commercialization on LinkedIn, because we do post all of our events on LinkedIn. There's other ways you can find out about what we do, but that's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate you. And you all will find her office on the fourth floor, and she has a plethora of the handouts and postcards that you all can take and grab with you. So without further ado, I will give you some time to take a break, chat with each other, connect. There's other folks in the room. Feel free to connect with them and network, and then we'll reconvene at 10 a.m. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
We need a couple of nurses to meet with our videographer and just spend 3 sentences about why you came today and why this might be important to nursing. They'll use this short little video to market events like today in the future.
Thank you so much. Right, we are going to get started, just rounding up the panelists. Panelists, we're ready for you. We're ready for you. Oh, I need to tell you how to set. Dennis, you're here. And David, you're right there because I have you all's bios in a certain order. This one's going to be for Shane and Victoria, and this one's going to be for you.
Oh, good. You
And
had
this
water.
is you, of course. Fantastic. All right, we're just waiting for one more panelist and then we're going to get started. Thank you all so much. And I hope you all are grabbing some of these pastries because they are for you. No. And a round of applause for our check in. Shane, he's double dutying today. We appreciate him. All right, so we are about to get started. Fantastic. All right. So, okay. My director is coming up here, and I feel like he's directing. Yes. All right. So we are back. Welcome. I am so excited to have this panel today. They are extraordinary in their own rights, and I'm just going to highlight a few things. I'm not capturing everything, but I will do my best. So to start, we have Shane Moses. Shane is the Senior Manager for Strategic Innovation Alliances, Projects, and Data at UC San Diego Office of Innovation and Commercialization. In, his, in this capacity, he leads the Entrepreneur Center and Triton Startup Incubator, a pivotal initiative designed to support startups through mentorship, access to funding, opportunities, and essential resources like legal services and prototyping tools. The center acts as a nexus for innovators, providing a collaborative environment to transform ideas into viable ventures. This is making him uncomfortable, I know, but let's brag a little bit, Shane. I mean, come on. You do all that. Shane's leadership fosters a culture of creativity, practical innovation, guiding entrepreneurs from concept development to market readiness. Let's give him a round of applause for being here. Thank you, Shane. All right, and next up we have Victoria. Victoria, how do I pronounce your last name? I've never called you. Keripe? Oh, how beautiful. Maybe I'll just call you that in the hallways. Victoria Carife is an associate director of physical science innovation at the Office of Innovation and Commercialization at UC San Diego. She joined what was then the university's technology transfer office as a senior licensing officer in 2008, managing a large and diverse portfolio of physical science, engineering, and medical technology inventions, while facilitating the launch of numerous startup companies. Let's give her a round of applause. Victoria, thank you so much for being here. Next, we have Dennis Dennis, can you help me with your last name? Abramsky. Thank you so much. You know, we're learning together. Dennis is executive director of the Institute for Global Entrepreneur, IGE. So you heard me reference that earlier at UC San Diego, a joint initiative of the Jacobs School of Engineering and the Rady School of Management. A seasoned founder and startup executive, he gives extensive experience in technology, commercialization, wireless communication, and business development. Prior to UC San Diego, he served as vice president at SoCal EED, advancing early stage biomedical startups. With a background in electrical engineering and early career roots in the Department of Defense and Qualcomm, Dennis now leads IGE's efforts to accelerate research to market pathways, mentoring emerging entrepreneurs, and driving regional innovation through academic and industry collaboration. Dennis, welcome. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. And last but definitely not least, David Lesser. That one's easy to pronounce. I didn't have to ask David. David is director of the Makerspace at UC San Diego, where he leads an open access workshop that fosters hands-on learning and interdisciplinary collaboration. With a PhD in astrophysics from the University of Arizona, my alma mater, go Wildcats, just saying. Uh, David has conducted research in remote locations such as Chile and Antarctica, developing advanced telescopes to study interstellar space. Geez Louise, David. His passion for experiential education led him to design engineering courses and establish makerspaces that bridge theoretical knowledge with practical application. At UC San Diego, he continues to empower students, faculty, and community members to transform innovative ideas into tangible creations. Let's welcome David to the stage. All right, well, let's just jump right into it. I know that there are a lot of questions in this room today, but if you could first tell us a little bit about what you do day to day and where your office is. So I'll give the mic to Shane to start.
So I primarily work out of this building, so actually 2 floors up on the 4th floor in the Entrepreneurship Center, and I actually don't maintain an office. So I like actually to work out at the table so that if you happen to come and visit us, that you'd see me out and you could just tap me on the shoulder or say, hey, I need something. I found that making myself accessible is the best way to help folks to work. And I reckon, I think, how are the stations organized for you all? Is it like A, B, C, and D nurse stations for, I guess, typically? Depends on the space. Okay, so I think, depending on the space, that you may have a similar experience where you're not off in offices all the time, but when you're out working with each other, you're able to tap each other on the shoulder, reference, ask questions, and work as a team. And so that's actually why I've got these out here in the first row, is that the idea is that we're a part of a team when it comes to an innovation and entrepreneurship. That so this team kind of colors, the team regalia is a way of recognizing that we're all here to support and contribute to your success. So 4th floor, OIC also has offices up at North Torrey Pines, so kind of near the golf course. And we have an office, I'm going to point that way because it is that way, but downtown at Park and Market. If you haven't been there, it's on the blue line, so you can go right down. So I will actually bounce sometimes between the 3. So email is the best way to catch me. And then my daily is time here, there, or there. And then in consultation with startups or founders or entrepreneurial curious folks who maybe haven't become a founder yet. So helping to navigate the ecosystem, connecting to resources and key partners like my fellows and compatriots here. So yeah, Victoria.
Thank you. So I spend part of my time in this building. I have an office, which is an office for, the most of the tech transfer part of OIC, up in room 451. But a big part of the time, I'm also over at the Torrey Pines Center North offices. I have a named office over there. So just to get an idea of my day-to-day, doing events like this is a big part of my job. And then I also have meetings with my team members. We talk about the different inventions that have been coming in, that they're evaluating. They're trying to protect with a patent. They're probably trying to get it licensed to a startup company or to an existing big company. We've dealt with big companies, you name it, we've done deals with them. And I also have my own portfolio of inventions. So, for example, at 4 p.m. today, I'm going to meet with 3 students from the cognitive science department to talk about an idea they have for a wearable something or other. they explained very briefly. I think it's for infants, so it'd be probably interesting even for this audience, right? If you're in pediatrics or something. So that's just a little bit about me and my day. Oh, you have one?
I brought my own. No, kidding. um, good morning, everyone. During the introduction, I talked a little bit about me, but I guess we're here to talk about you folks. So I'm not sure how many of you know the layout of the campus, but we are at the first floor of Franklin Antonio Hall, which is about a 3-minute walk. And it's a space where we do workshops. We work with startups from campus, and we also get referred through other groups like San Diego State and other UC campuses or different organizations. So we work with everything from students through faculty, researchers, and it's an interesting thing because when you try to explain what an entrepreneur is, you're not quite sure, but we met one today who was talking about shoestrings. So that's the type of people we work with. So we do office hours. So now you are connected to an engineer. Which means, at the end of this, we'll be able to talk about how you would connect with us over at Franklin Antonio Hall, how if you do have an idea, you might be working with Victoria, you might be working with Shane, but we'd also want to know if there's a way we could help. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, during the Q&A.
Hello, I'm David. I spent a lot of time yelling over loud machinery, so I feel comfortable just projecting my voice. I'm easy to find because I'm right down the hall over here, and we run the makerspace. So the idea is we're open 6 days a week. Anyone on campus, including all of you, are welcome to stop by whenever you like. And so the idea is we help people build stuff so that manifests in little and big, minor and grandiose ways. So, everything from sewing machines to injection molding, laser cutting, 3D printing, woodworking, welding, whatever. You want to drill a hole in something, we have people who just wander in the door unannounced. You don't need an appointment. You don't need any kind of bureaucratic, BS. You want to learn how to use a drill? We'll show you how to use a drill. Just pop on by, right? Right, to make that just super snappy, super simple, just, get shit done. So we do a lot of that, and we also do a lot of, more involved, mentoring and collaboration. If you've got an idea for a product, something that you're interested, a problem you're trying to solve, I think one of the reasons why we exist is, it's not good enough to you can't solve the problem just knowing that it exists, right? You need to start really kind of digging into what tools are there out there that can help me solve this problem. And so we, as hopefully reasonably expertise in using those tools, we can kind of mentor you through that process of, do we want to 3D print this? Do we want to machine it out of metal? Do we want, how can we design this in a way that, working alongside you, teaching you about using the machinery and all that so that we can really come up with the best possible solution, the cheapest, easiest, most reliable, most, easy to test, solution to the problem that you're facing. And then, right, once we do that kind of lofty, theoretical, design kind of discussion about what it is that we're trying to do, then we go and teach you how to drill the holes in things to go and make that. So really, the goal is to be flexible because we have all sorts of goofballs with all sorts of backgrounds, and we try to help do all sorts of fun and crazy things. So the idea is to just keep it flexible.
Fantastic. Wow. I feel like you went through almost all the questions I had for you.
I'll just shut up and sit in the corner.
I love that. No, we want you here. So I want to actually start with Dennis. Dennis, you all do a lot in the med tech space and healthcare. I mean, you work in a lot of different industries, but can you talk a little bit, because we have so many that are in that kind of health tech sector or healthcare sector. Can you talk a little bit about how IGE can help support what that would look like, somebody coming to you with an idea?
Sure. We started with the education process where we work with students to do everything from learn storytelling and how to talk to customers. But after that education process takes place, we also have programs like our MedTech Accelerator, which we've been running now for about 5 years. And I just noticed that the program manager is here. Becky, can you stand up, please? So Becky runs the MedTech Accelerator program, and it was created over time because usually accelerators in universities have a tough time figuring out how they can help their students or their faculty. So it wasn't like we knew exactly what to do from day one. We started talking, the very first thing we did, we talked to everyone we could think of, from faculty, from students, from administrators, about the organic connections that engineers were making with clinicians. But it was all organic. They'd run into each other, they'd come to an event like this, and that's how they find out. And now I realize it's called snowballing. So we didn't know what it was, we just said it was organic, right? And there's nothing wrong with organic connections, it's just they're very inefficient. And as an engineer, you look at things, engineers are basically lazy. So what we want to do is we want to spend the minimum amount of time doing each thing. So we said, how can we be more efficient so we can go and do the fun stuff? And one of the ways of doing that is to talk to everyone, and it's called customer discovery. So we go around, we ask you what your needs are, and based on the feedback you give us, we decide, well, maybe if we can meet those needs, it's a win-win. It's a win for us because we get to keep you on campus and engaged, and it's a win for you because now you can maybe create something with Stopcocks that work and you can get your name on it. So it is definitely a win-win. So we are very, very founder-centric. We realize that if the founder doesn't succeed, the rest doesn't matter. So it's a people thing. Everybody thinks it's technology. No, it's the commitment of the people that move the technology forward. You heard someone moving technology forward. That's what she was trying to do. And you could hear a pin drop in the room because of the commitment and the passion that she showed. That's the type of people we want to find. There's also a key to remember. Sometimes it's not your idea, but you can work with others that do have ideas. So I've been in about a dozen startups. It was my idea 3 times. The other 9, I get a phone call that says, Dennis, can you come and help? And it's usually somebody I've worked with for 10 years. So the answer is when and where, right? So what you want to do is create a community, and I think that was a little bit of a call to action today, but there is a community already, and this is part of it. Up on this stage, etc. There's a community already here. And that community is built up of people just like yourselves. Some of them have ideas, but if you don't have the idea, you can meet someone that maybe you can help. So what the MedTech Accelerator does is it takes exceptional founders and pairs them with mentors and creates a team. And that team, we try to move forward. So the very first thing we ask ourselves is, can we help them? If we think we can, we do the matching, we work with them, and the average engagement is 1.5 years. Most accelerators are measured in weeks. And that's why a lot of them are not very successful. Because we're part of a university, we realize that everybody walking these halls is smarter than we are. They just have not done it before. So we're here to help them do it the first time or the second time. And we now have 2nd-generation founders that are on their 2nd startup. They show up on our doorstep and say, you know, we'd like your help. The idea here is to keep that community growing. So everything I heard this morning about creating a community, I'd like you to join one. And this is part of it. And I think after this panel, we will be going over to, some of you will be coming over to IGE for a quick tour.
I'm over here being inspired. I'm sorry. I'm such a fan of these people. Shane, can you talk a little bit about, thank you so much, Dennis. Shane, can you talk, same question, how can this ecosystem that is sitting before us today tap into resources to help go from ideation to actually something tangible?
So I think the challenging part for anyone in this ecosystem is how vast it is. That there's IGE, and if you're not familiar, there's a Scripps Institution of Oceanography, which is down on the coast. There's a Rady School of Management. There's a group over in biosciences. And each of these departments have a small, agile team that's working on innovation and entrepreneurship. So the question from many of you is, well, where do I start? Or if I hit this roadblock, well, who has or who can help me with that solution? And the answer is all of us. That, we want any of you to be able to go to Becky or to Alina, who's actually here from the Institute for Engineering and Medicine. So, hi, Alina. Um, so, each of us is charged with and is responsible for developing the community that Dennis talked about. So, bringing together key people, helping to snowball efforts and community to make it easier for everyone who's come after. And so to connect with any of us is to initiate your own path towards success and getting the help that you want and need. In terms of formal kind of engagement, it could be as easy as an email or coming to an event like this. I know that the MedTech Accelerator has an application form similar to us. So we all want to know core things. What is it that you're working on? So that's like a short description. The better you get that story or that description of what you're doing, you practice with each application. If you've done grants or you've filled out accelerator things in the past, they want to know what's your idea, who's working on it with you, usually about how long have you been working on it, and where's your funding coming from. I think usually the teams that we're working with, it's zero. I have no money. Help me get some. And so that's a part of what we also do is leveraging partnerships with external, if it's, Dennis, you talked about pharma, or maybe you didn't talk about pharma, but you talked about if there's a company out there, we've likely done a deal with them. And that, when I hope that you were talking about is that it's related to licensing, so looking at technology, but then we leverage that same relationship to say, well, kick in some funding, help us support founders and entrepreneurs exploring ideas that are aligned with your industry. And so, it's that little package of kind of what you're working on, honing that. If it's like a one-pager, actually we have a template that's called an executive summary, so we want to know all of those things, and so happy to share that with you all as a way to explore and maybe prep some of that for yourself. And then to look at the application pages for the different groups, if it's yours or one at SIO or even Wavemaker Lab, because all of them are going to have these kind of core details that you want to have ready, prepared, sharpened up. And so I think that's a great way to kind of prepare. And then, like I said, leveraging and connecting with all of us personally. Yeah.
So now we know a little bit more about how to take our idea to a place of tangible doing and customer discovery, like Dennis mentioned. Let's go to Victoria. Victoria, can you give an overview of the types of innovation that can be protected through the Office of Innovation and Commercialization, especially in healthcare and service-based fields?
So may I answer that question indirectly? Yeah. So before or in parallel with you talking with these guys, you should come first to a person like me, right? Everyone here, I think, is a UCSD employee, and we all signed something, right, as a condition of our employment. But that's a good thing, right? So you're talking about protecting an innovation. What does protecting an innovation mean? That means securing the rights to your innovation, right? The, the importance of securing the rights to an innovation is actually embodied in the U.S. Constitution, right? There's a intellectual property clause in the Constitution, if I can remember correctly. It grants the power to Congress to promote, if I can, I tried to memorize it this morning, to promote the progress of science and the useful arts in securing for limited time to the authors and inventors the exclusive right to their writings and discoveries. So with that clause in the Constitution, we have U.S. patent law, U.S. copyright laws, and we have the institution of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Right, so when you have an innovation, it's valuable, right? So you want to protect it. It's just like when you make something or you discover something or you buy something, you have physical property rights. In the case of an idea, it's intellectual property rights, right? So that's a big part of my job, of the job of OIC, the Office of Innovation and Commercialization. There probably 2/3 of the office works in this area, right? It starts with an employee submitting a so-called disclosure to our office, which describes your invention, and then it tells us who the inventors are, what an invention is, who funded it, right? So it could be anything from a contraption like your vamp, that early idea that you had. It could be something like, for an engineer, it could be something like the design for a chip, right? Which may not be patentable, but there's value in the actual work. So there's copyright or mask works rights in the design of the chip. It could be software, right? So protection means for an invention that we would file a patent application for it. In the case of copyright, copyright rights actually accrue instantly when you put an idea into tangible form. But if you disclose it to us, that actually starts a record that you actually created, the software or something else, right? So there's a whole range of things, right? There's a question? Patentable? In principle, yes. In practice, more and more, it's very easy to get around algorithms. So there's a tendency for folks not to do it. Certain ones, for sure, yeah, because they're very seminal in the field. But for a lot of things, like, for example, AI to interpret medical images, there are quite a few of those, and it's easy to get around some of them. So sometimes the value really is in building the software, right? Rather than actually securing a patent.
One more question before we go to David next. But is it possible for someone to retain the rights to their license and once they go through this process? Can you just talk a little bit more about what that means?
So yeah, that little thing that we all signed when we became employed, we said that we're assigning our rights to our inventions to the university, but you can license it back. And the chancellor has a wonderful program for UCSD employees who want to license back their inventions, very favorable terms. Yeah, there's a big mandate from our chancellor to launch startups from the results of research and the results of your creative minds in your jobs. So yes.
And the inventor gets to keep a
Yes, and very important, in exchange for assigning your rights, for a patent, you get 35, the inventors get 35% of the net license revenue. 35, right? Personally. If there's just one inventor, you get the full 35. There's two, the default is divide by the number of inventors. But if all the inventors agree it's not equitable, you have to sign a paper that says you all agree that the distribution among you is a certain way rather than equitable. But everyone has to sign. Otherwise, it goes back to the default.
Becky first. We might have the same question. Go ahead.
So as an employee, and because we see this a lot in the MedTech Accelerator, when you work in a lab, it's very clear whether you're a PhD or you're faculty that the university or government somehow is funding that invention. However, if you're an employee and an idea comes to you, but you're not working on it with any campus resources or any time, is that still something? Because we hear this a lot.
Right. Right. So there are exceptions to when you make an invention and the university will not assert rights to your invention. So let's see if I remember all the criteria. First, you did not use any university research facilities. Second, you did not use any funds administered by the university. Third, kind of connected with the first two, the invention, the creation of it, and the commercialization of it will not entail obligations to a third party, like a sponsor. And the fourth one is very tricky. The fourth one is it does not fall within the scope of your employment, right? So that's very tricky. So, for example, somebody's a researcher is an electron microscopist, and they came up with an invention for like I don't know a autonomous lawnmower, right? It's outside of their scope of employment. So, but they still have all of us who create an invention has an obligation to disclose to our office. But if you think the university does not have rights, you should accompany your invention disclosure with a letter saying why you do not think the university has rights. And that will go to someone like me, and then I will look at that and I will advise you, please talk to your supervisor about this, because when we do our diligence, we will be talking with your supervisor and go through all those criteria, right? And then if all those criteria are passed, then we write you a letter that, university does not have rights to this invention.
Yes. I think, I mean, when we talk about obligations to disclose and to report, it sounds onerous and bureaucratic and not oppressive, but like, hey, like you can't tell me what to do. And it has this vibe about it. And there is two pathways. I think, Becky, you alluded, people say, I did this outside or on the weekend, or it's a lawnmower, it's not a microscope. But that, I think a part of that doesn't look at the value that UCSD does lend. So we seem like we're just making this grab, but that comes with protection of the university and the entire system. The resources, legal, compliance, distributions, there's a lot of work that then the university takes on as your partner in managing the IP. Yeah.
And frankly, we have enough stuff to work from our actual researchers. So, if if you do have ideas like this, I mean, we don't want anything to be onerous, because we don't want a lot of work for ourselves either, right? We have a lot of work. So, and we try to make everything as friendly as possible. And, like I said, I'm going to meet with like 3 graduate students this afternoon, right? And I could meet with any one of you if you had an idea like this, over Zoom or in person if you're around. Yeah.
So it's not to say, you've done it, you work here, now the university is gonna take ownership. It is much more exploratory, collaborative. We want to be resources wherever we're at on the campus to help you explore and pursue, the solutions that you're working towards. So I think with that, and then you made a comment about 35% of licensing revenue. For those that might not know, how is that revenue determined? So is that licensing revenue is the amount set that a company pays, or is it off of how much a company makes? So just maybe some more detail about that.
Licensing revenue, so what goes in a license agreement for an invention? You have, if we patented it, we need to recover the amount of money we spent for patenting. So that's usually an item in the license agreement. But there are fees. There could be equity. A startup company could offer the university some shares as part of the deal, right, in exchange for the rights to the invention, and their royalties on the sales, right? So our biggest revenues are from therapeutics. Yeah, not surprising, right? So our top earners are therapeutics. There's Elmiron for interstitial cystitis. There's Erbitux for cancers, right? So those are UCSD, right? Everyone familiar with Irby Talks here? In Cologne? That was the whole Martha Stewart story, right? So, that's where, so 15% goes to the host academic unit and 50 goes to, we give it to the chancellor and he does what, you know. So for this, like all this, right? Yeah.
Now that we've totally confused you, my suggestion is think of the university as your first partner. It's not an adversarial relationship. The campus wants you to do well because it makes the campus look good. And there's an interesting word that everybody keeps talking about. It's rights. You're granting rights. You already have rights. It came out of here, right? So by definition, you have rights. When you do a disclosure, all you're doing is telling us what your idea is. And there are places on campus that they're called IP-free zones. IGE is one. I think the basement or upstairs is an IP-free zone. So you walk in with your idea and you say, I got this really cool lawnmower thing, right? And we look at it and we go, tell us about it. And everything you say, I can't do anything with. I say, that's a really cool idea. Have you done a disclosure? And you go, what's a disclosure? And I said, well, I have this person called Victoria, and she's over. and she can talk all about what a disclosure is. I said, but when you're ready, you should go and do a disclosure, because what it does is it makes it transparent. The university does not want to sue you. It's in their best interest for you to become rich and famous, because you'll come back and help everybody else become rich and famous.
Whether or not we own
Right.
the stuff.
Yeah, so that's number one. Number one is everybody is founder-centric, because the people in this room are the biggest asset we have, without a doubt. There's a lot of great buildings and research and all that, but without people like yourselves, the ideas won't go anywhere, right? So people come to me all the time and say, I want to own everything. And I said, you already do. You're granting rights. You're granting the university the rights to do something. The university's granting you rights. So that's it. That's why there's a time limit. You can say, I want to do it this way or that way. You have a conversation, and it's your partner, because this place has a lot of money to market your idea. So if you come up with the cool lawnmower, they're going to tell the world it's a really cool lawnmower. And it was made here right in San Diego.
We'll make a video.
Yeah. Right? So all of us,
Doug will make a video.
and they'll pay for it. I mean, so what happens is people come to our office all the time and say, I'm afraid to tell people. That's exactly the wrong thing. So you can come to this building, you can come to IGE, and there's others around campus that are IP-free zones. Qualcomm Institute's an IP-free zone, and it's there for a reason. Paul Robin, who runs this place, we sat down a few years ago and said, if we don't have IP-free zones, people won't feel comfortable. These people won't feel comfortable coming in and talking about what they're doing. So we can't touch it, but we'll give you some advice. And this process is not that hard, because all these inventors we're talking about all went through it. So if you have an idea, please reach out to anybody that's here today, afterwards. And we do office hours. There's plenty of office hours that are set up in these other areas that you can have a frank conversation without having to worry about your rights.
Fantastic. Oh, got one more from Victoria.
I just wanted to add that if you disclose your invention to us, chances are we probably know someone, an engineer or someone, who works in that area, and we can pair you with them if you're open to that. I've actually done that a couple times.
Yeah, we do a lot of that as well. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. No, it's question time. But if you pair with an engineer, is that also now a person that shares rights with you? Or,
It depends. It depends, right? There's patenting is a legal matter, so there are legal hurdles or criteria for who is an inventor, right? So if they just help you build the thing and did not conceptually contribute to something that becomes a so-called claim in the patent, they are not an inventor. And wrong inventorship can actually invalidate a patent. So we are very interested in getting it right.
There's a lot of interesting questions in terms of like you bring on somebody as a staff member or as a co-founder. There's strengths and weaknesses to both sides, right, depending on the circumstance. A big part of we also very much right. I really try to emphasize we are a space full of tools, full of junk, but we are just as much, if not more, about the people than the junk that the people come to use. And so we're also very glad to act as a meeting ground, as a watering hole for creative goofballs to meet and chat about what they're doing. And so, yeah, right. I mean, whether it is something that we're teaching you how to be like that, more skilled in terms of this like prototyping resources to do it yourself, as well as to work with the engineering team. The hope is that whichever way we can be helping you kind of punch above your weight, right? So on your own, before you've got $1 million of NIH funding, you're not stuck with just a cocktail napkin sketch of what you want, but maybe you've been able to design and 3D print a proof of concept of what you want, right? And then when you go and start forming that little team of people trying to push this ahead, instead of working on the proof of concept, you're working on a pilot study, right? You're making 20 or 50 or 500 of these things and putting them out in the field. So at every step of the way, you're at the next step already with the previous step amount of funding and other resources that just get you that much more capable of succeeding.
And so thank you for tapping into the people piece of it, because it's something that we also saw and wanted to help build some more of the community around. So I think it's been like 8 years. We started an entrepreneur in residence program. And so we bring in entrepreneurs, founders who've started multiple companies in different fields. So if it's therapeutics or software or health and medicine. And so actually one of our entrepreneurs in residence, Jay Park, is here and wanted to share a little bit about like his experience, likely has heard us say some things and was inspired to share something. So Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jay Park. I am an uninvited panelist. I decided to jump in because I actually came here to get some free talent, but we'll talk about that later. I'm a ER doctor at UCSD, so UCSD employee, and I have multiple startups. I've been doing startup for about 20 years, so I'm maybe 10 or 20 years ahead of you. And so I have startups and I start new startups here, right? So the legal questions, I have all the answers to, or most of them. And I think a lot of you, I've talked to so many startups and they all always kind of worry about that, how much is UCSD going to take? Trust me, it's best to disclose. Most of the time Victoria says, great, go for it, right? And then like you talking about, how do you find engineers and set up teams and what percentage equity they get? We could help you with all that, right? And they could help you as well. And I think that's why we're here. So as an entrepreneur in residence and having helped multiple startups for 4 years now, I think you have resources here. So I think, once again, just plug in, disclose, and don't be afraid. UCSD is not going to take your money. And in fact, we did an AI startup recently here, and I felt like having UCSD on your tailwind helps you more than it's going to block you, right? And it's like, listen, I tell founders all the time, do you want to own 100% of a startup that makes $10,000 a year, or do you want 10% of something that makes 10 million? If you do the math, you know which one you want, right? So 10% is better than 100%. And most people choose 100% and they decide to hide it from everybody, and they all fail, or 99% of them fail. So, and I've seen so many failures in the past 4 years. It's insane. So trust UCSD. And then, so don't be afraid of Victoria. Just let her know what you're working on. I've worked with Victoria multiple times. Tell her what I'm doing. Really just disclose it. And then if you have questions, talk to people like me, talk to people like Shane and Dennis before, and get plugged in. And I think what Dennis was saying was, get plugged into a network. Some of you have ideas and some of you don't. They want to get plugged in. And I think this is a great place to find resources and startups. There's a bunch of undergraduate startups that are starting that you can plug in with. I am looking for people. That's why I kind of dropped in here, because I'm like, oh, I need some nursing people. For example, we do things like Botox training. We do medical weight loss. We help launch out med spas and plastic surgeries. We have, millions in ARR every year. And we just built a new app for medical weight loss for targeting people who are using Ozempic. And we need people. We need nursing. We need people who are in startup. And if you're interested in getting plugged in with me, you can find me or get plugged in through them. But it's just one example of what Dennis was saying, that there's this huge ecosystem that you're really not sure about. And if you're scared about starting your own startup, that's fine. I think you can just jump in and get your feet wet and see what it's like before you start your own startup. And money and resources are here and it's free. And I just find it's crazy that most people don't take advantage of it. All right?
That is perfect. Thank you so much for that. Definitely check out. I was just going to say, definitely check Jay out. He is on the 4th floor. I want to open it up to questions now, because I'm sure you all
Can I
are
just say
biting.
one important thing.
Yes.
So
please.
if you have an invention and you feel and you think it might be patentable, one very important criterion for patentability is novelty, which means no one knows about it. Right? So be careful who you talk to about your invention. I can say more about that, but you can ask.
Yeah, like don't publish it.
Okay, so I see some people like doing this. Who wants to go first? And we're open now for questions. What questions do we have? Oh, right here.
What if your invention is a service and not an actual product?
So what's the service based on?
I,
Is it a business idea? There are so-called
there-
business method patents, right?
there's
They're
this,
a little harder to get because there's several of them out there. Because you have to kind of get over other patents that already exist, the so-called prior art.
yeah, I guess it would be ideally a partnership with UCSD because it's something we need for everybody who works here.
It,
I guess
it
yeah.
depends.
I'm
yeah.
not worried about the I'm not worried about the patent part of it. I want to know more about how you guys help that grow or materialize.
So a service business.
Yes.
It's just like a product business.
Yeah, a service is a product. Yeah.
Well, I think maybe to answer your question, there actually is an office. I think they're called like the Small Business Resources something office. Oh well, there's one for the city. There's one, yeah, Small Business Administration. There's the SBDDC San Diego, yeah, on campus. So Anthony Singleton. So say you wanted to do business with UCSD, you'd form an entity, define your service, have how much and what people pay for what. But there's a procurement process. So you like register to do business with the university. And there is a process and a team specifically set up to help small businesses do business with such a massive enterprise. And so we interface with them and we talk about which companies need what kind of help, making sure that you have everything that you need to be successful in doing business with UCSD. Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about. Yes. E- I actually can speak directly from that because I came on as a vendor for UCSD. I'm a federal grant writer. They hired me in for that. When they hired me to come in as a staff person, that all changed last year. And so it's really important to understand what is the service that you're wanting to offer and how you're structured with the university. But I also was going to say that it's a great opportunity to actually partner with the fourth floor in better understanding how your service can actually be built connected to customer discovery, which is what Dennis was talking about, because I think oftentimes we have an idea, we immediately want to go to market with it without realizing there's more to the development stage of it that could potentially allow you to come and offer something to the university that they don't already have, thereby not putting you in that category of being X out. But we have another question here.
Oh yeah, so mine it's similar kind of what you guys answered a bit, but with like say I was going to come to your office with an idea, would you recommend already having maybe like a provisional patent to offer?
No, we do that.
So you guys do that?
Yeah.
And,
We don't spend the money. If you think it belongs to us or might belong to the university, don't spend the money.
okay.
Yeah.
But if we've already maybe done some of that work, then
That's fine. And then you can say that in your disclosure, right? And then if you're accompanying your disclosure with a letter saying that I don't think this belongs to the university, then we'll, write you the letter after we do our diligence and agree with your points. That it's good that you already filed, right?
cool, thank you.
Another question over here.
So I have two inventions. One is providing service, and I'm actually the hurdle for me for that service is legality. So I probably talk to Victoria about it. The other one of my invention is a product. My question is, what if I would want to partner with a pharmaceutical company? Who do I talk to, or?
Um, so I mean, the product invention, you think you own it or the university owns it?
Um, Somebody owns it, but then I wanted to reintroduce my idea. So I would want to partner with an engineer to make that product better, and at the same time talk to a pharmaceutical company to introduce their or medicine into
Right.
the product that I wanted to invent.
So we do have contacts with various companies. There are actually two licensing teams at OIC. One is life sciences. I'm more in the engineering physics, which includes medical devices. But we have contacts with pharmaceutical companies, and you probably do, and a whole bunch of people. We could try to hook you up with them, whether or not we own it, right? But it always helps to disclose because that's how you start opening up the process and discovering, what else you might have to do or, tapping into our connections. If we don't know about it, we can't help you, right? Yeah.
So it would be the pharmaceutical company would have like percentage.
No, no, no. No, no, no. If you want to partner with them, it depends what the partnership is, right? If you disclose your invention and we determine it's owned by the university, and we see that it's something that might be of interest to a company, then we would try to approach that company and see if they might be interested in licensing it.
Hello, my name is Leonardo. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you guys for being here as well. Without disclosing too much, I'm writing a book to develop anyone that wants to be a nurse get to that point. So it's a combination of ideas that I've gotten. Associated with it is a note-taking strategy with specific formatting on a page. So I'm already 90% done with this book. I'm already working with the company to help me publish it in September. Now my question is, thank you, is it has to be done by September. I don't have a ghostwriter, but they have an editor lined up for it. Do you guys have access to editors who can help me just with as you said earlier, the development stage of it? Because it's basically done, but I mean, it can be better. I also just want to get the idea out there.
Right. So copyright policy is actually a little more complicated than patent policy. There's an entire flow chart. And a lot of my team members hate it. They say, like, who can understand this flow chart? You have to go through like every single step to see who owns it. I think you own yours, right? This book, because it's more like a scholarly work, or scholarly works and aesthetic works actually belong to the employee. But in terms of getting in touch with an editor, that would be, strictly speaking, outside of our purview. I do have a team member who's been in the publishing business in the past, and I could probably ask him on your behalf.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh,
But I mean, I can't come to you about the notebook because that is a product.
Oh,
It's
the notebook.
associated with the notebook.
Oh,
Yeah. For example, this notebook with specific lines, that's all there is. It's not very complicated. It's very simple, but it's organized with the strategy that I put.
oh, okay.
It's product. And secondly, a tool bag, but that's done.
Oh, I misunderstood. I misunderstood. Okay, we could talk about that. Yeah. All right.
perfect. So I actually want to bring somebody up because this fits right in. I'm so glad, this is what it's all about, connecting. Alina, she's industry and community liaison at the Institute of, what does that say? Oh, engineering in medicine. Someone's whispering it to me as well. Can you just talk a little bit more about the work you do and the matchmaking that you were sharing with me?
So Institute of Engineering and Medicine, we are a matchmaker. We work very, very closely with all these folks here on the panel. And we have 15 centers now around different thematic research areas. And our whole function is to connect people from engineering and tech side of campus with biomedical sciences side of campus. So if you have an idea that you'd like to partner with engineering side, we can also help to connect you with folks, either through our centers or through these wonderful panelists here. We also have our structure set up in a way that facilitates this coordination. So all of our centers have both an MD side, health sciences side co-director, and an engineering side co-director, specifically for being able to have that networking ability that you all need. So happy to help out however you would like to use us. Thank you.
So much. I appreciate you. Again, this is what it's all about. So, are there any other questions? Oh, yep, right here. Perfect.
Does the university ever decide if it's worth it or not worth it? Like, if it's a small idea and doesn't seem to have might not have a big return on investment, I would say.
So we patent for the purpose of licensing. We don't patent just to patent. It's different from scientific publication. So we will be straight with you about that, right? But even if it's something that if it's an invention that normally belongs to the university and we don't end up patenting it, we could let it go and you can keep it, right? So it's possible to do that, yeah. I mean, we've done it even for big name researchers. Said, sorry, no. This is not going to make it in the market. So.
And there's like different tiers, right? You can imagine the $100,000 idea and the $1 million idea and the $1 billion idea, and there's sort of different approaches, right? Maybe you got the $1 billion idea. This drug cures cancer. You're going to want to license that to some big pharmaceutical company, and just they'll manufacture it. Wire us all the money, and then you just create your own space program or something, right? For the smaller ideas, it tends to be something more, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more usually done along the lines of, the inventor often will start a startup business that licenses that idea from the university and goes and commercializes it. So especially on the smaller side, there's a lot of avenue for you to be generating a lot of revenue and running a business off of that idea, even when it is the university that owns.
Do you have an idea you're thinking about?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you my card.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess my last one would be like, is there a roadmap? Everything you guys said was like amazing, but it all feels a little.
Yeah. So
It depends a lot on what you're trying to do. So we're trying not to lie to some of you and to be more specific to the other half. So it is tough to be always correct. But.
So I just wanted to clarify the novelty thing. So as UCSD employees, I mean, I know Dennis will not, if you talk to him about the invention.
I won't tell you.
He's not going to tell someone outside, right? So we sort of have the kind of like the theory of common interest as UCSD employees, but it's better to disclose, and that way we can tell you, we can guide you, we can guide you more closely, more specifically.
When I think to your first question that there is a transactional piece where a decision has to be made because it costs money to do these things, but that when it comes to advice, developing things, we're not going to tell you, that I'm not going to do that because it's not my place at least to be a gatekeeper to what you want to explore. And so if it's maybe talk with a couple more customers, and instead of it being this orientation and this size and this material, based on feedback, you end up changing that to something that does work.
But I just, frankly, I've always erred on the side of, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Right. And then, just like a couple years, it's still not, said, maybe go to plan.
We have another question here in the back.
Hi, I'm Genesis. I'm a nurse over on the health side. I work in admin and patient experience. And so my question to you is, I have many physician colleagues who are faculty, and they have entities with grant funds that they are awarded. Those funds, what I'm trying to learn is how are those funds, how are some allocated to their entities for payment for services or products that they've developed? Because as a nurse, I'm trying to learn how to navigate that and have that also for funds that I've been awarded.
When you say entities, they have their startup companies?
Yes, or like an LLC or an S corp.
Right. So any entity, as long as they qualify for the solicitation for the grant, they can apply, right? So those things, if any money comes back to the university, is contracted back to the university, that actually triggers a whole conflict of interest thing. And I actually sit in one of the review boards for that, so I know a lot of those companies, actually. So is your question, how do they get the money, or how do they figure out?
Would it be with you for me to learn how does that work?
Not really.
Yeah.
I could talk to you. Yeah, but it's not really strictly in our purview. It's just because I participate in those meetings. I know about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Come in. Oh.
because yeah,
Can you ask it
yeah.
again?
This is a big question for us. We all work with physicians who have their own startup businesses, and they're funneling the money from the grants through those businesses. It appears like how is this working?
How, okay, he can, yeah, yeah.
I don't have grants currently. Whoa. But it's, I understand. I don't know if this is a whistleblower conversation we're having, but if you are, I literally was on a board call just now
That's
with
okay.
a whistleblower conversation. But the grant structures are for a product, and absolutely there are no subcommittees for that recipient of the grant. So it is, there's ethical dilemmas. I understand what you're talking about. So I think there isn't a how. I think that the grant process is given to that professor. And if that professor deems that they need the services of a external LLC that provides a specialty service to that grant project, that's within their purview. How much that LLC charges that grant is a whole other discussion about ethics. And but you know, we can talk about that off the mic.
So I think that maybe addresses like the underlying one. So that there is a federal program called Small Business Innovation Research, so SBIR, and that is grant funding that would go directly to a company. So you apply for that, and you say, "I'm the team member. Here's my other team member. Here's what we're working on." There's an application process, a scientific review board, and SBIR funding is there's a federal rule about, you know, if you get allocated this much budget, a percentage of that has to go to small business innovation in that sector. So there's the National Cancer Institute has one. There's one for, what is it, NDDK is, oh gosh, kidney disease. There's one, you know, there's one in health sciences and, you know, put out by NSF and NIH, but there's also one in national security. So looking at AI and software. So these grants, there's phase one and phase two. Phase one is, was it 150,000? Up to 175. And that is, you know, for an amount of time. And then phase two, they say, okay, great, you hit all the milestones. You've advanced this project in a way that's pleasing to your granting agency, and you get phase two, which is, I think, 1 to 3 million about. So that may be something where you're saying if there's money that's coming in and, hey, where's all that money coming from? It could be one of those grants that's specifically above board and what we all expect and want to see. An example of that is upstairs on the 4th floor. There's a company called Billion Labs. Have you all worked with them? So Ed Wang, engineer, looking at blood pressure monitoring through the lens on your smartphone. And they are completely grant funded. The grants get funneled through the company, and that, you know, pays for equipment, research, staff. And so, you know, there is a way that that happens. Victoria, you mentioned you're on one of the review boards. I'm also on the Office for Outside Activities Tracking, so OATS. So it's actually mandated, kind of a fun name, but mandated for all health sciences, at least faculty for sure, that if they have a role with the company, CEO, founder, chief science officer, they have to disclose that every single year. So then a group meets and we say, hey, you know, this person's been doing this for 2 years. What's the deal? Are they actually working themselves out of that role, or are they just collecting money all the time? And so there is a process to try to catch and consider those things. And then I'm a part of that group to say, well, if they've been doing it for 3 years, the exception's not going to get passed for a 4th. So what's the plan? How are they tapping into programs to make sure that the company's growing, or, you know, they're getting to that no-go point of like, enough. So that, I think maybe that helps.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify, we weren't trying to point fingers as a whistleblower. Well, earlier today we disclosed that we've had a problem funneling money through the system because the academic side of our business is different than over on the medical center, right? And we'd have a problem funneling money through there. We were wondering if it's possibly a solution to our problem to have independent small businesses and bring the grant funding in through that way, because we have been unsuccessful pulling the money through the business side of our fence.
So
Yeah.
that's exactly that.
Yeah.
those types of grants. So
Yeah.
SBIRs, there's a grant specialist here. So in terms of if the money's coming from GoBiz in the state of California, or from the city of San Diego, or Carlsbad or Vista, there's money out there, and the criteria for the grant change. So if you have to be a nonprofit or a small business, or ownership definitions in terms of demographics, that Christiana is a great partner for us. There are also grant specialists on campus. So if you go out and you say, oh wow, there's this SBIR opportunity, it's perfect, this is exactly what I want to do, and you open it up and you're like, oh geez, this is a different language, I don't have market estimate size, how do I do that? There's actually grant writers, one over at Altman Clinical Trials Research Institute, so ACTRI. His name is Marty Spang. Makes himself available to chat through, is this a viable grant opportunity? And then there's a person I'm going to point this way to Qualcomm Institute. Molly, yes.
And we hold seminars on SBIR.
And we partner with USD, who's got a whole SBIR program, so we actually bring them over, they provide consultation, how to setting up.
Right.
Yeah. And that is like in the actual writing of the grant, not just here's where you go and sign up for an account. It's let's look at your 3-page kind of proposal, help to refine it, make sure that you're going to follow all the rules, and it's like right font size limits, because you'll get rejected even for those kinds of little petty things.
Yeah, I'm just going to say there's 2 quick ways of doing this. One is if you want to create your own company, you go through what we've been talking about. If you want to do it tomorrow, you find somebody to collaborate that's a primary investigator, and you go through their lab. So we do that all the time, and you can apply for different grants here on campus, and it's painless. So if you don't have a primary investigator that you can get to, we'll talk about matching you up with one. And then you can do that tomorrow.
And we're actually going to, after we wrap up this session, I'm inviting you all to come to the 4th floor to go to the Maverick Studio. There's an actual founder who is an alumni here who went through the pathway that Dennis is talking about. He's working with a PI on campus that's faculty here, and he has multiple grants that he's bringing in for his company, Reblood X. And because of that relationship, he's able to generate funding coming in. He has access to it. Eyes are on it. So there is no misappropriation of funds. And he's also available, even though he's in Miami right now pitching to a VC, he also put himself out there as a person to contact to ask how that process goes. We're working with the PI. And like Dennis said, it's seamless. There are some challenges there, and he's happy to talk with you about them. So there was another question. Oh, Jay?
Yeah, and just so you see how this ecosystem works, I mean, you two should get connected and start a startup for something like a grant navigator. There's something called charity navigators that looks at charities. You can start a grant navigator and then report to the NIH whether or not this person's a 5-star, and it helps them get grants, right? So like, this is like an ecosystem. That's just how my brain works. It's a problem, there's a solution. So you two get connected, do a startup, and you can thank this meeting for it.
And the NIH wants to hear from us. They partner with us on a lot of things like this. Thanks for that, Jay. Nicole?
Hi, my name is Nicole Tuatasi. I'm currently a floor nurse at UCSD Health, and I'm also currently working on my master's in nursing informatics. Very busy. And I'm here today because I worked on an invention in my undergraduate, and it's sitting in my room and we're staring at each other, and I would like to make it further come to life. But when I worked on that project, I partnered with a nursing professor, an engineer, a psychology professor, and a business professor. And I saw how having such an expansive team just really benefits, and a lot of ideas are passed and are created and set forward. And I was interested, your guys' experience and how UCSD innovation builds a team, important aspects in teamwork and really cool connections that you guys have seen in your experience.
Well, what you did is you sort of experienced this organic thing I was talking about, where you put a team together and you complement each other as far as your skills and experience. And that's kind of the key, because that camaraderie and that sense of one single purpose is why a lot of people do startups, because you get to make your own decisions or you work with a small group. But you probably still know where some of those people are, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yep. So yes, you are an entrepreneur. That's how it works. And hopefully, if you want to get that thing, if you want to dust your idea off and do something here, talk to somebody, one of us, and see if there's a way to do it.
Thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. Is anything burnt right over here? And then again, I'm going to invite you all up to do a tour of the building.
Hi, I'm Randy Sadama. This has been an awesome session. Thank you for having it and the panelists. So I know you're focused mainly on UCSD employees, but does this also apply to students?
What was the question?
Does it also apply to the student population in terms of licensing, patents, ownership as well?
Yeah, undergraduate students, they don't sign what we sign, so they own their own intellectual property. But like was mentioned earlier, and you're going to visit the basement, that's the basement. Liesel mentioned that the basement is very student focused, so that's where they learn all the skills to be an entrepreneur and bring, well, first they go ideation and all the rest of the path to actually, and you see some products that have come out of the basement teams, right, downstairs. No, they are not.
By the students.
So the students.
They're owned by the students. But if along the path they started working with a professor, then maybe there's joint ownership.
So it gets tricky.
Yeah,
No, it's not necessarily tricky. You just have to figure out how to work it, right? Yeah. Don't be afraid of joint ownership, right? And like Jay was saying, maybe that's the key to you having 10% of 100 million rather than 100% of 10,000, right? So.
Yeah, no, it's not being afraid. It's just trying to understand. So if a student works on a joint project for some class or in a lab, and they turn into something, or they create a great idea, then
they own, unless along the path they worked on something that used university funds or all the rest of the criteria, right?
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, maybe to be really specific about that, as like an example, there was a student team working on a VR therapeutic. So put it on and do forest walks or beach kind of things. And so they thought, oh, we'll pursue this grant from our vice chancellor for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and it was about access to health. And they said, okay, well, they applied for it. They won the grant. I think it was like $25,000. And one of the stipulations was, well, if we accept that money to work on this project, it created an entanglement for the IP. And so they said, okay, well, actually, you know what? We're gonna refuse the grant, because they didn't want that. They wanted to work on it on their own, and that example there would have complicated that to that point. So, which is fine, and it's case by case, but that the by and large, I guess, anybody who's working on something, the university is not asking students to disclose that, right?
And as far as services go, MySpace, we're happy to serve students or staff or faculty. I don't care. So if a student comes in with a project, we support them, and the university doesn't own anything because it's part of their teaching, right? And I would say for the other folks up here, either they work with students and support them, or they have colleagues and counterparts who do. So we're happy to support either side of that.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's give our panel a round of applause. We are so grateful to you all to take time out. Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah, no, it's the collaboration. Judy, thank you so much for talking to me back when we were on that plane. So before you all head out, I would like to invite you all up to the 4th floor. There is a AI space that is all virtual, And one of the founders that I mentioned earlier, Reblood, they're not here today, but are available to connect with you. They're working on an amazing project with them that is supported by the fourth floor. And they would like you all to come up and check it out. And if you are available right now, I would love to have you meet me over there at the door. Oh, not right now, don't give up yet. But in a moment, whoever would like to go up and hang out in the Maverick studio with me, it'll probably take about maybe 5-10 minutes max. Then please meet me at the far door to the right. The other thing is at noon, we would love to invite you to head over with myself to IGE, which Dennis mentioned is about a 3 or 4 minute walk. And he would be happy to give you all a tour of that space as well. So again, if you're interested in sticking around, come meet me up on the fourth floor and we can check out what they're doing in the Maverick studio. And then at noon, hang around and then we'll walk over to IGE. I see a hand up. Yes, you can leave your things in the room. And before we all leave, whoever's going to leave, Shane would love to do a whole group shot together, if you all don't mind. So if you could join us over in the corner, then we can get that. And Victoria has cards that are available. If anybody wants to take one, they're up here on the podium. And there's some other handouts that I'm putting up as well. Thank you all so much for coming out. Happy Nurses Week. We love and appreciate you all. Pew, 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 pew. Sorry, I had to do that. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So we have Scar. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you all go join Shane over to take a photo? I apologize. Shane's looking at me, and then I will do my announcement real quick. If you could go take a picture real quick, and then I'll tell you about these. Oh.